Welcome everyone to a little bit of light, awaiting Moshiach. We await for Moshiach to take us out of Golus, take us out of exile. The exile that we find ourselves in right now is called Golus Edom, the exile of Edom. And that is because the ancient Romans who destroyed the second Beis HaMikdash, second temple, were the ancient Romans, descendants of Esav. And therefore, that Golus has not ended. The Babylonian exile ended. The Egyptian exile ended. The Greek exile ended. But the Roman exile, the Golus Edom, hasn't ended. And we're waiting for Moshiach to take us out of that Golus, take us out of that exile. Now, there is a medrash that compares the Golus Edom, the exile of Edom, to an abyss. Abyss, you have this large open, you have this cliff between large stones, between large cliffs, and then there's this drop. And the drop gets dark because it seemingly has no end. It's a very, 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 very deep drop. And it seems like it has no end. The Golus Edom, the exile of Edom, is compared to an abyss because it seems to have no end. That's how we feel it. That's how we perceive it. We know by an abyss there is a bottom there. But from the way it seems and the way it touches us, it seems like there's just no end to it. And when it comes to the exile that we're in right now, presently, it seems to have no end. We have no signs when it's going to end. Even when there is some light in the darkness, something always seems to come up that makes us wonder, when is it going to end? The anti-Semitism that we see exploding across the United States. When is this hatred of Jews ever going to end? When is this feeling of insecurity ever going to end? Yes, we believe in Moshiach, that's when it's going to end, but it just seems so far, so that we're in an abyss, in an endless exile. Now, this is not the first time the Jewish people have found themselves in this situation. This was a situation they found themselves in Egypt, in Mitzrayim. We've just finished the holiday of Pesach, and as many of the commentaries tell us, the Jewish people in Egypt there was no possibility of redemption, essentially. Physically, for sure not. Spiritually, in the sense of merits to be redeemed, none. They didn't have them. They didn't have the merits for that. At the end, when Hashem took them out, even without merits, they had to have certain mitzvahs and certain merits that they could be able to receive what that kindness of Hashem, that kindness of God to be redeemed. But essentially, there was no way out. They had no thoughts of getting out. And even after Moshe Rabbeinu came on the scene, there were challenges. The Egyptian exile was a situation where we saw ourselves in an endless exile. There was no way we were getting out of it. But then Hashem, b'chipazon, suddenly, quickly, took us out. Because even when there is what seems to be an endless exile, Hashem never abandons us. Hashem is running everything and orchestrating everything. And Mitzrayim tells us not to give up. The Exodus from Egypt tells us not to give up. There is an end. There will be an end. There will be a redemption. In the book of Daniel, the book of Daniel, chapter 12, an angel reveals to Daniel that there will be a case, there will be an end, when eventually Mashiach will come. And there was a code that was given, but a code that we have no way of decoding, in the words of the book of Daniel. People have tried to decode it, but we really have no way of decoding it. So we were told there's an end, with a code of figuring out a code by which to figure out the end, but we have no way of decoding it. What's the point of it all? The point of it all is to let us know there is an end. It may seem like there's no end, but there is an end. That is what the angel was telling Daniel. And that's the message to the Jewish people. There is a case, there is an end. There's a way of getting to the end. There's a code by which if you can figure it out, there's a way of getting there. But the point is that there is an end. There will be a light at the end of the tunnel. And never give up hope. So how do we understand this? What's the way of understanding that, as we see from Yetzias Mitzrayim, from leaving Egypt, that as endless as it seems, there will be an end? One way of understanding this is as something we mentioned, I believe, a few weeks ago, as we were preparing for Pesach, as we were approaching Pesach, was that the commentary of Masa Nisam and the Haggadah writes that the exodus from Egypt was a guarantee for the coming of Moshiach. Because when Hashem took us out of Egypt, he made us his people, his children. A father doesn't abandon his children. There may be times where they may be put in the dark, may have to go through rough times. But we are his children. We are his people. It can't be that we're going to just be left in this endless exile, in this endless darkness. Hashem took us out of Egypt, made us his people. That means we will be redeemed. We will go back to him. That's one way of understanding this. Rabbi Aaron Lapiansky explains it in a very interesting way. And he explains that the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Almighty, is called Ein Sof. He's infinite. Which means that Rebbeinu Shalom is the infinite Tov, the infinite good. And infinite good means that everything is good, even though it doesn't seem to be good, is good. But in essence, if the infinite good of Hashem means the ultimate good, full-fledged good, not just hidden good, open, understandable, perceptive, one that we can sense. That is the true good of the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's the good that Rebbeinu Shalom wants to share with his creations. So, how do we look at the world? Is the world essentially a bad place and sometimes good shines through? Is it a good place and then there's sometimes bad? How do we look at the world? Well, Leviansky says you got to look at the world, that the default of the world is good. The default of the world is full-fledged ultimate good. That's the default of the world. Because that's the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom is the ultimate good, the infinite good. He says that when you look at, the Medrash compares Esav to an abyss, endless darkness, that is the exact opposite of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that means that darkness is an illusion. It's not reality. It's a temporary situation that we have to go through for a specific purpose, for a specific time. But the default of the world is Tov, because Hashem is the ultimate and infinite Tov. And if that is what the default of the world is, then again, that means there's an end to all of this. It means the darkness is temporary. And the darkness has a purpose, and it also is good. But but that form of good is temporary. That's not the true essence. That's not the true existence of what the world is and is meant to be. And therefore, when we have a dark and endless gullus, exile, and it seems to be endless, that's an illusion. The truth is that the world is a world of the infinite and endless good Hashem. Hashem is infinite and endless. His good is infinite and endless. That is what the world is meant to be. That's the real state of the world. The darkness is temporary, and therefore there will be an end. And this is something, as we have just finished Pesach, and every day we remind ourselves of the exodus from Egypt. This is what we have to remember. In Egypt, it all looked dark, and then suddenly we were out. The true essence of the world, the true state of the world is Tov, is good. The darkness is temporary for a purpose. It also is good. But it's not the the default good of the world. It's not the default state of the world. And on Pesach, we had at the Seder, we opened the door, which we call opening the door for Eliyahu Hanavi. We open the door, and then we after the third cup. And the Ramah in Shulchan Aruch explains that this custom is based on the fact that we express by opening our door and have no fear of what can come in, what can be happening outside at night, is because the night of Pesach is called Leil Shimurim, a night of guarding, a night of protection. And when we open our doors and we show how much we believe in that protection of Hashem, then says the Ramah, that is a merit for us to bring Mashiach. Because when we believe and we express that belief, when we truly live with emunah, with the belief in Hashem's protection and Hashem's guidance of the world, that's a merit from Mashiach a step closer. And therefore, as we look around and the hatred seems endless and the problems seem endless, we have to realize, we have to believe, that's part of the belief in the coming of Mashiach, that what seems endless is an illusion. There will be light. We will experience it. And the more we believe in that ultimate end, the more we believe in that ultimate light, the more merit we have to be able to merit that light with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkeinu B'meher V'yameinu. Thank you for listening. This has been a little bit of light. Have a wonderful Shabbos.